If you hate office politics and you just want to get your job done and you just don't want to deal with the politicking going around you, this clip is for you. I'm Adele Wong. Welcome to the podcast where we explore all things around creating one bodacious, amazing life because we only get one on planet Earth, so we might as well make it the best. Wouldn't you agree that this business of livelihood, we want to create a life where we're doing stuff we like, and sometimes we're working with other people. And sometimes that can be challenging, right? Especially if you've had experiences where maybe you felt like your boss was really biased and unfair in how they assessed you or the situations, or maybe you noticed that the higher ups were making some pretty bizarre decisions, not based on any reality. And you're like, oh my God, there they go. And work might have felt really stressful, maybe always subconsciously aware of who's got the boss's ear, who is more influential, maybe even who goes to lunch with who or who's invited to this meeting or that. Can you relate? I know I can. I have been on both sides of this issue. I have been the water walker at times where I could do no wrong. And I've had the experience where I was the odd person out and it wasn't fun. It's a lot more fun to be in than out. And this invisible dynamic can cause people to be really unhappy at work. We spend so much of our days at work that if we don't feel safe, we feel judged or under the microscope. Can you relate? Stress levels very high, might give you a headache. Your body's under this onslaught of these fight flight hormones all day long. You go home and maybe you're not your best with your spouse or your kids. You might get some sort of stress induced illness. It's a big deal. And in fact, the latest data says that something like 36% of people who leave jobs, that they leave due to this feeling of not feeling psychologically safe. They don't feel emotionally good. And a lot of work has been done around this in terms of what can we do to make work better? Why are people feeling so threatened at work? Stress levels. You got all these consultants coming in and trying to do workshops and encouraging managers to up level their skills at communication. It's not a bad thing. But here's something I want to bring to the conversation today. Y'all know that I am an AI consultant and I've been working with people's most deep personal stuff now for 15, 20 years in working with leaders and business owners. And these two things are coming together. And I have been very curious about how AI is going to impact office politics, because I think it will. How will the emergence of AI impact how this energetic dance happens between people? And I'm going to suggest some things that I think are going to happen. Before I do that, though, I want to make a note that a lot of the things that have been proposed based on the latest thought leadership actually sounds very similar to what was hailed back a few years ago when I studied quality science in graduate school. So I have a graduate degree in studying things like organizational behavior, quality science, which is just a fancy term of how can a business be better? How can things be done easier, better results, not burn people out, maybe have people happier? In quality science, the whole thing was about if you can get leaders to make decisions with real data, better data, more complete data, they have a better shot at making better decisions. Because you've got the data, decisions are more grounded in reality and nobody disputes them because the data just sort of informs you of what the next step should be. So a lot of quality science is looking at business and work as a system rather than a bunch of individuals. This person's good, that person's bad. It almost doesn't matter so much who is there. It's more of looking at the system that you've got inputs and you've got outputs. And when things go great, the same system that creates great wins for the business is the same system that creates the oops, something went awry there. That it's the same system. It's like a factory, right? You got good things coming out of the factory, and you got a few things that maybe didn't pass quality control. The difference in looking at things as a system is it's not so personalized. There's a recognition that if something is going awry, we can ask why to get better data. And the distinction here is if you have a rigorous quality science perspective and something is not going to plan or you want to improve something, you don't just ask, why is that one time? Most businesses will only ask why one time, maybe twice. But the real rigor of getting to the root causes, the real data of why things happen a certain way to produce great results here and maybe some not so great results there, you got to ask why 7 times. That's the Japanese way of they don't just ask why once or twice. And everybody knows when you only ask that level once or twice, in a way, it's a way to blame somebody. That person screwed up. And nobody wants that to happen to them. Nobody wants the egg landing on their face. That creates a lot of stress, a lot of CYA. Have you been there? I have. That it's of paramount importance to look good and protect your behind, which immediately reduces people being more forthright or taking risk and trying something new because it could blow up in your face. But if there is a rigorous, well, why did that happen? Well, because this happened. Well, why did that happen? Well, because at that time there were 10 billion other priorities and this system here didn't update properly and Microsoft did a weird patch. And well, why was that? That the context of why things happen is a lot more complex. It's a lot more rich. And a lot of times people just don't want to deal with it. They just want the immediate, and so they can blame it on someone or someone else is held up as a star. Have you been in situations where it looks like one person or two people get all the credit without the appreciation of it took 20 other people to make that happen? And then there were 50 people supporting those 20. Because we have a culture that tends to look at everything more from an individual lens of either being the hero, rock star, or the villain. I mean, that's how promotions are often handled. But a quality science perspective looks more at real data. So it's not so personalized. And then there's more room to explore the root causes of things. Now, the challenge, the reason why it has always been a challenge to get companies to embrace this. I mean, it's better. We have Six Sigma and things like that. It's hard. It's hard to train people to do this because sometimes people are like, oh my God, they feel threatened because nobody wants to have the blame land on them. Totally understandable. But also getting data about why something really happened to get a true objective view of things is not easy. People either don't know how to do it or it can be tedious. It used to be people had to have a little checklist by their desk and make a little tick mark after something happened. So then someone would go around and collect all the tick marks and we could track and try to figure out the trends. And I mean, it was a lot of work for a quality science person to come in there and look at a system when people are used to looking at their jobs as individual mindset. Like, I just want to survive here. I just need to provide for my family and not have anything bad happen to me and look good. We have been there. It's kind of been the way companies have run lately. And so there's a lot of instability because if you don't know how and why things are happening, managers have to go with gut feel. If you don't know, if you don't have data, the next best thing is opinion or assumptions or your experience or just a general feeling, which is great. We love those things. And wouldn't you agree that sometimes someone's opinion about something might not be correct? It's an opinion. It's not a fact. But it's not a manager's fault. Everybody wants better data, but no one knows how to get it other than what people say. That can be massaged a bit. But if you had real data, it kind of speaks for itself. And then it's not so personalized. It's like, oh, it makes sense for us to do this. And then decisions can be easier, less stressful, and less personal. It's like, well, of course. So we've all been in situations in corporate. I was in corporate a while where decisions were made at the top and people who actually doing the work were absolutely baffled. I said, this makes no sense because the people doing the work are closer to the data. But there was no way to collect the data in a way that wasn't just constantly rephrased and reworded and massaged to the point where people at the top didn't really have solid evidence. It was an assumption, and that can be filtered a certain way. So when something blows up, what happens is if you don't ask why, what you get is people jumping to a solution. So something breaks, we immediately make a change. Well, from now on, we're going to do this. We're going to implement these rules and we're going to have this checklist. We're going to pass this legislation. There's this huge knee-jerk reaction so that that error never happens again. But then, oh my God, we broke something over here. Oh, then we got to address that because we're not looking at things as a system like a factory. It's like every little thing is treated separately and things are constantly being changed. Can you feel into the level of chaos this creates at work? Because there's never a solid sinking in to data that everyone can relax and know that there's not going to be a knee-jerk reaction on this or that because life around us is already chaotic enough. The market's changing. We've got new releases of this, new releases of that. And if we don't have a system that can absorb and respond instead of just reacting when something blows up, whose fault was that? And it's very easy to say, well, this person didn't do something. Well, why was that? Well, they didn't get something in time. Well, why was that? Well, because this person didn't get what they needed. Well, why was that? Like keeping and tracking all the inputs, you could see the trending. Well, that was the limitation to quality science a few years ago and why more companies don't adopt it. It's hard to do. You got to battle people's assumptions. You got to make people collect data. Let's bring in AI now. Here's the thing. AI has the potential to bring all those benefits that quality science promised because it is much better at collecting data. Let the AI collect all this data and bring it together. It's probably going to be a lot more objective. You don't have people scrambling around to collect the data. It just knows, and it will give managers a much clearer view of what's going on. And the extra benefit for managers is managers are not going to have to rely on their brain so much because business is getting so complex now. You've got so much data. How is one person supposed to crank it through their mind to figure out, well, what should I do with this? AI can help massage and analyze. AI can see trends faster and easier than a human can. AI can make recommendations based on data because that's what the AI uses and not someone's opinion. AI can look at possibilities that maybe humans didn't think of and present them as options for managers. And once the data is there, managers can feel a lot more relaxed on why they make decisions besides just using gut feel or the pressure to change things because something blew up here, I have to do something. In my years in corporate, I saw that happen. An overreaction over here because something happened breaks something over there. And pretty soon there's all this adjusting and the work becomes very chaotic. It never stabilizes. People are stressed. They never know what's going to happen next. They don't know what's expected of them. Everyone's just trying to keep their head above water and hope that they don't look bad. Has this happened to you? Very stressful. This wasn't how people were meant to cooperate. So this is a long way of saying that I think AI can help a lot with this politic problem that people used to say, oh my God, I can't stand politics. I just want to do my job and go home. Wouldn't it be great if you could do that and feel more relaxed that the data will just be self-evident on what's going on? It won't be singling out anybody. That work becomes like a system instead of individuals trying to be a star here or who's going to lunch, all that stuff that people don't like. So what does this mean? I think this means that as AI becomes more involved in our businesses, It's going to probably create a flattening of the organization, which is what quality science had hoped for. And that might make some people a little nervous. Oh my God, I'm losing power. Well, maybe because the AI is now able to do a lot of this for you. You can't make stuff up anymore. And that might take a little getting used to, but the decisions that are made will feel more stable. So, flattening of the organization, you might have people feeling more relaxed. Here's the thing though, leaders are going to need to be better trained in how to use AI. This requires a very different way of thinking, and it's important that leaders be able to sniff out biases in the AI because AI is using data that often has human bias. So they need to be on the lookout for bias. Okay? AI might be very useful in helping with disputes because is often considered more objective. In fact, there's already been data that companies are using AI to resolve disputes between groups because it's more objective. It can kind of lower down the rhetoric a little bit and come up with creative solutions. That's awesome. Wouldn't that be great? You just want to get your job done. And wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to worry about all the ambiguities of human existence at work? AI is not perfect. Being able to spot AI, being able to learn how to use these tools so everyone has their own assistant. Know that you're not going to need 10 billion layers of bureaucracy because each layer is trying to absorb the complexity from the previous layer. Need that so much anymore. So this is a long about way of saying that I think AI could help with a lot of the stuff that has made work not so great sometimes between humans, so you can relax, do your job without worrying that someone's after you because there's going to be data there to back you up. I think this is exciting. What do you think? As usual, if you've enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Helps drive things up a little higher in the algorithm for more people that are looking for content like this to have a better life, livelihood, and future-proofing what's coming. Okay? Rock and roll.